Okay, here we go. Hey guys, welcome to Wanderlust Alley, and I'm Allie. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my story. I've been getting a lot of questions about why I moved to Japan, if I've always loved Japan, what job I have in Japan, all the questions. So I thought today would be a good day to sit down and chat and kind of explain to you how I ended up in the position that I did. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more travel content. So the beginning of my story kind of starts in 2016, but it really starts when I was just 2 years old, because that's when I started dancing. So I know that might seem a little weird to try and put together, like, how does that have anything to do with going to Japan? But I have been dancing my entire life, and I actually went to school as a dance major at Chapman University. So basically what happened is I went to school as a dance major and I wanted to get a part-time job at Disneyland. I've always loved Disneyland and I love performing, so it was my dream to work there. That is where I got my first part-time job as a performer, and this is also the first place I was introduced to the idea of going to Japan or living in Japan. If you don't know this already, there are so many Disneyland parks all over the world. So we have the ones in California, Florida. There's also Paris, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. There are a lot of foreign contracts that allow foreign performers to move abroad. This was a kind of a common place to discuss these kinds of things at work. So whenever I was at Disneyland, you would hear like, ooh, so-and-so is moving to Japan, so-and-so got a contract in Hong Kong. Like, that was very normal. This really didn't pique my interest at all. I was not much of a traveler growing up. Most of my family trips were mainly in California, which is where I'm from, so I didn't get much exposure to different cultures. I didn't even have my first passport until I moved to Japan. So when I heard about these opportunities, it really didn't even occur to me that this was something that I would want to do. I remember when I first hired in, I was 18 years old and I was hearing about some of my friends who had just gotten a contract offer. And one of my first friends there, they like looked at me and they're like, wow, is that something you would ever want to do? And I'm pretty sure I said something along the lines of like, maybe. Like maybe when I'm done with school, like I don't know, it just wasn't a priority to me. So if you were wondering if I've always wanted to go to Japan, I've always loved traveling, the answer is no, not at all. So I have always loved Japanese food. And when I say Japanese food, I mean like teppanyaki, which is, you know, like I didn't like sushi. I didn't try any of like the more unique foods, like okonomiyaki is like now one of my favorites. But my birthday, I would always go to the teppanyaki place that's right by my house. And I always said like, wow, I love Japanese food. Another thing is that in kindergarten, we had to do a country project where we had to make a flag from another country, and I picked Japan. So I don't know if that was a little like foreshadowing, but I do remember that happening, and I honestly don't know why I chose it. But so let's scoot forward just a year. So I hired into Disneyland in 2015, and after my freshman year of college, I decided I wanted to add a double major. So this is when I started to go through like a little midlife crisis, or quarter life crisis, not even identity crisis. I know that sounds really dramatic, but it was really hard for me. So I wanted to add another major because I wanted to be able to justify going to school and paying all that tuition. I found a major I liked, I thought it was really cool, and then the classes just went like, it was awful. So I tried to make it work, but it ended up making me feel like I wasn't really putting my whole heart into the dance major. I don't know, that didn't make me feel good. Like, if I'm gonna be a dance major, I want to be able to do all the shows and all the things that go along with it. And if I was gonna do both, there was just no way for that to be possible. So I ended up making the decision to drop to a minor. And this is when I just like, I felt like I lost myself, because as I said before, I've been dancing since I was a small child. I've always been able to identify as a dancer. In my freshman year of college, like, what major are you? I'm a dancer. That was me. So all of a sudden dropping that part of myself just felt so uncomfortable, and the track that I was on with my other major would have put me down a completely different career path. it was starting to make me feel like I was never going to have a career in entertainment, which, I don't know, didn't seem like the end of the world to me at the time, but I knew I wanted to do something. And just around this general time, I started to hear that there was going to be a Tokyo Disneyland audition coming up. So at the time, I was just feeling like, I don't know, I guess I'll just give it a go. And my plan was that if I end up getting it, I can take a gap year and perform during that year, and then when I come back, I can just finish out my classes and do everything that I was planning to do and put performing behind me. So at this point, I'm 19 years old. I'm feeling like I have nothing to lose because I don't even know who I am anymore. So dramatic. So I end up going to this audition, and honestly, I didn't even feel like I did that well. It was separated into different parts. There was an acting and a dancing section, and dancing I always feel pretty confident in, but the acting part, I was like, no, not me. Yeah, I wasn't feeling super confident, but I just remember after the audition, I went to my friend who has done this job in the past, and I was telling her all about it, and I was like, wow, like this sounds really cool. I got to the end, not sure how that happened, but I got to the end, and she just looks at me and she says, go get your passport. And in that moment, I was kind of confused because I mean, I didn't even get the job yet, so I was kind of like, why am I getting a passport? But it was because she like believed that I was going to get it, and the way that she was looking at me, I just remember feeling like, I do need to get my passport, you're right. Even though it was just like a shot in the dark, it's possible it may not even happen, but I ended up like running all over to the post office and putting my passport submission in that day. And the reason why she was recommending me to do this is because there's really not a lot of time. There's so much information that has to go back and forth between you and the company, including like photos of your passport. So if you don't have one, it delays the process. So like I said, I went over and I submitted my passport, and just a couple days later, it was 2 in the morning. I was coming back from a friend's house late at night, and I remember getting out of my car. I was checking my email to see if I had gotten an email back from one of my professors, and I see Tokyo Disney contract offer. So at this moment, it's 2 a.m., everyone's asleep. I don't have anyone to talk to about this, but I email them back saying like, yes, I accept, I'm gonna go. Honestly, to me, it didn't even feel like a question. I mean, traveling and doing all that wasn't something that I was like, ooh, I can't wait to travel. But I was really excited for this new opportunity in the midst of my identity crisis, if you will. And it wasn't until a couple weeks later that I even told my family, and I was gonna do a little surprise for them, even though I know my dad doesn't usually like when I leave and do things like that. This is when all the fun stuff starts happening. So once I say yes, it's time for them to send me paperwork. I fill out the paperwork, I sign contracts, I give them pictures, I forget everything that happens. Once everything is finalized, they send me visa application forms, and then I have to go to the Japanese consulate and get my visa approved. In hindsight, like, I know it wasn't that complicated because they literally just spelled everything out for me, but I also felt just like so overwhelmed. I've never left the country before. I've never dealt with any of this kind of paperwork. I've never had like a job like this that wasn't just like a baby part-time job. So this was a lot for me. Anyway, all that stuff got completed, and finally the day comes where it was time for me to leave for Japan for the first time. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I was so excited. I don't know why, like I wasn't even nervous. There was nothing about it that seemed scary to me, even though I literally had no idea what I was getting into, and I didn't know the language at all. I had a coworker who actually taught me like 3 words. They taught me "Ohayo gozaimasu" and "Otsukare deshita," which came in handy. It definitely did. But those were the only things I knew, and that wasn't enough. So I ended up landing on the plane, and I just remember feeling so disoriented from the jet lag, going into 7-Eleven for the first time and being like, wow, it's not just candy and snacks, and then also nothing is in English. So that's all a lot to take in. I got into my apartment, which was completely empty at the time, and I was just thinking like, wow, like I can't believe I'm here. But I wasn't scared. I didn't even get homesick. This was also my first time ever not having a roommate or anything. So I'm kind of surprised that I didn't feel more lonely, but I don't know, it felt like okay. The first few days was a lot of orientation, making sure I have a residence card, health insurance, like I have an official mailing address, getting Wi-Fi set up, groceries, like all the logistics stuff that you try not to think about when you're about to move abroad. Or the company that I was working for does a really good job at like helping out with those resources. So if moving to Japan is ever something that you want to do, I would make sure that you're contacting your sponsor or the company that you're going to work for and see if they have any resources for you. Most likely they do if they're hiring foreigners, because they know that we're not going to be able to like navigate this on our own, or we could, but it's just like harder, so they want to be able to help as much as possible. So since going to Japan for the first time in 2017, I've done 3 different contracts. I did a contract that was 15 months from 2017 to 2018. I did a shorter 1-month contract in 2019, and then I also was intended to do a 15-month contract from 2020 to 2021, but because of COVID, that got all erased. So no, I'm not in Japan at the moment, but I hope that when entertainment becomes more normalized again, that I could potentially go back. Anyway, as I mentioned before, I was never really into travel, and I think just being immersed in a different place for the first time ever is what awakened my wanderlust, if you will. I remember like one of the first days talking to this one girl who just travels everywhere. Like she had been everywhere in Japan and she had this insane list, and I just asked her for like the exact list and I started like ticking them off every chance I could. Like the first day off, I remember me and this girl that I had just met went to go see the snow monkeys, and like we were complete strangers, but we went on this insane adventure. We went in this hot spring together. We got lost in a snowstorm together, and now she's like one of my best friends. And that was just the first adventure. There were so many adventures after that. I ended up counting all the places that I've been in Japan, and I think I've been to at least 100. I'm not just ballparking that. I did actually like count and look through all my old pictures and be like, okay, that's 1, 2, 3. Anyway, I've been a lot of places and I feel like I have a lot of information that I could share, so that's why I'm here. Even though I don't necessarily think my story is like that special, I do realize that other people may be interested in doing this. Like this is a huge life shift. If this is something that you're interested in, I would say just go for it, because I was never a gutsy person. People were always like, wow, you're so brave. I could never do that. I was not brave. I just went like, okay, like here we go. So if that's you thinking like, I could never be that person to do that, I didn't think so either. I literally have so many friends who could tell you that they thought I would just stay right here in my bubble forever. And we have bursted that bubble. Japan honestly just feels like home now. I've learned the language. I have so many Japanese friends who have taught me so many things. And I'm just really passionate about sharing my experiences, and now that I've been there long enough where I feel like I've gained enough knowledge where, like, obviously in the beginning in 2017, I knew nothing. If you asked me, I'm running away. But now I do want to help other people, and if this is something that you want to do, go for it. I support you. If you need anybody in your life to support you, it'll be me. I'll be like cheering you on 100%. So anyway, if you've made it all the way through the end, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you being interested in my story. I hope that this video leaves you feeling at least somewhat inspired and that you could be someone that does this someday. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let me know if you have any questions that come to mind. I'm always happy to answer them. All right, see you soon, guys. Bye.